So I was scrolling through YouTube and I found this video of first things first. I keep saying first take for some reason. First things first. Nick Wright, and instead of Chris Carter, we have Chris Canty, and I forgot her name. I really forgot her name, so I don't know her name. But they were talking about the whole Odell situation and possible landing spots. Now, I said a few days ago, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers went all out and traded for both Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown. Right here, they're talking about the 49ers being interested in a potential, trade package that the 49ers would have to give up for Odell. And also, Pittsburgh came out and said they're not trading they're not trading Antonio Brown in conference. They're trading him to the NFC. I would not be surprised, and I said this already, I would not be surprised if the 49ers got both Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. So, whether it happens, we'll see. If it doesn't happen, I'm just interested in seeing where these two guys end up. So, we'll see.
Yes. And that's not an indictment on Odell. Sure. It's just a testament to where the Giants are. They are still stuck in neutral, if not slightly in reverse, at the quarterback position.
Which is completely their fault. The Giants should have moved on from Eli. They didn't. They decided to hold loyalty because he won them 2 Super Bowls against the best franchise in the past 20 years. Fine. They put themselves in that predicament. It wasn't anybody else's fault. It was their fault.
And I know Odell signed that contract knowing Eli was the quarterback. I don't think he signed the contract believing Eli was going to be the quarterback next season in addition to this season. And you have to look at where the Giants have needs, which is at every level of the defense. Remember, I thought their best front...
Real quick, because I don't know how long he's going to go on with this part, but real quick, he just said that Odell signed that contract knowing that Eli was the quarterback. Odell's a young guy. He's about 23, 24 years old. If I'm on a football team and my quarterback sucks, and I know my quarterback sucks, but the team offers me, a $150 million contract or something like that. I don't really know the specifics of his deal, but you offer me a 5-year deal, over $100 million, I'm going to take that shit. Being 23, 24 years old, about 20 mil a year, probably, most likely it's more, but I'm just going 20 mil a year. Just 20 mil a year. I'm taking that shit. I don't know one 23-year-old that wouldn't take 20 mil a year to play on a team. I don't give a fuck if the quarterback is hurt. I don't give a fuck if the quarterback sucks. I don't care. I will take the money. As 23 years old. And that's probably how Odell was looking at it. Most of these players, they play their entire career for that big payday. And was he going to throw that payday away for his quarterback? Because his quarterback sucks? Sure, for competitive purposes, it would have been a good thing for him to just leave. Or for him to say, I don't want an extension, I just want to, test my value out in free agency. But when you start throwing numbers out there, man, and the numbers is fucking massive, of course you're going to take it.
7 defender, Damon Harrison, they traded him away. The guy in Eli Apple, who obviously had been very underwhelming as a Giant, but a former first-round pick, they trade him away. Like, they are rebuilding defensively, even if they don't want to admit it. They've got...
Also, letting Landon Collins walk was the key sign that this team is starting over. Now, all they got to do, they're going to get rid of Odell, and now all they have to do to fully start the rebuild is get rid of Eli. Odell and Eli most likely are the 2 pieces that need to go next for them to completely be ready to start over. So
2 A-plus players, a wide receiver and a running back. But those are 2 positions that have limited impact if you don't have a quarterback, if you don't have an offensive or defensive line. And so
And that's why I said that the running back position value has diminished over the past maybe 10 years. It has diminished. The running back position, even though it does a lot for an offense, is not as important or not as sought out as a quarterback or an offensive lineman or some part of the defense.
You look to talk about San Francisco. If San Francisco calls me and I'm Dave Gettleman and says, we got the number 2 pick of the draft. We're not trading you multiple first-round picks, but we will trade you the number 2 pick of the draft for Odell Beckham Jr., and that's how they can go get Dwayne Haskins. That's how they can really start the next era of Giants football.
All right, and this is the part that I really wanted to stop at. I just stopped at those other parts because I wanted to keep the commentary going. But this part right here, why would the 49ers give up their number 2 overall pick for Odell Beckham Jr.? I mean, think about it. The number 2 pick in the draft. Yeah, I said Odell was the second best wide receiver in the NFL. But that's a high pick for a guy that you're getting with big money. I mean, you're getting a guy who has a lot of money coming with him, who has a big personality. Do you have the staff? Do you have the players in the locker room that could deal with his personality? And this is another thing. Oh, you don't even know if Odell really wants to be there. Because a lot of times when these trades go down, the thing that's never really brought up is whether or not the player really wants to be there. So you give up a whole lot. You don't even know if the player really wants to be there. That was the question I had about Josh Gordon last year or this previous season when New England traded for him. I mean, you're giving up I believe they gave up a second-round pick. You're giving up a second or a third-round pick for a guy you don't even know if he wants to be here. And it didn't last. It only lasted for 5 games, and I understand he had issues, man. But still, man, you gave up assets for this dude. If the 49ers, that's a huge leap of faith. That's a huge leap of faith that you have in somebody that you've never coached, you never had in your organization. That's a huge leap of faith that you're taking. The second overall pick in a stacked. This is a stacked draft. With all the commotion and, people were talking about this player and that player, this is pretty much a stacked draft. Or at least a stacked top end. Why would you give up a number 2 pick when you could possibly sign another defensive player? Because the 49ers need help at linebacker. They need help in the defensive backfield. Like, if I'm trading a number 2 pick or any other assets, I need a return. Like, if I'm the GM for the 49ers and I trade that number 2 pick for Odell, I would at least need like a 3rd or a 4th rounder back. Maybe both. Because if the experiment doesn't work out with Odell, I at least need to know that I have some compensation that could make me feel better about the whole situation. Because I'm not saying that Odell will go to the 49ers and not play well, but you don't even know if he wants to be there. You don't know if you have the players to... when you bring a wide receiver in, you need to know that Odell is going to be able to mesh well with Jimmy Garoppolo. Because for a quarterback and a wide receiver, and this is the prime example, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, you need to know that the quarterback wide receiver position has some chemistry with it. Make sure they're on the same page. Make sure they get along. Make sure there's no, And I'm not saying that either one of those guys will have a problem with each other, but you just want to make sure that this is going to be a successful transition for this dude. And the 2nd round pick is a big pick. It's not like the 27th pick or late 1st round pick. This is the 2nd pick in the draft. The 2nd pick in the draft. Not like a 7th or 8th or a 9th or an 11th. This is the 2nd pick. That's a big decision they're making if they do that. I would kind of trade a 2nd round pick for Antonio Brown. I would kind of. Because of how great this dude is at what he does. I would kind of trade one for Odell. That's a big decision. I don't know. I don't know if the 49ers would do that, and if they would do that, that's a huge leap of faith. They would have to pull out all the stops to make it work.
Of course I'm going to listen. I wouldn't be in a rush to trade him. I wouldn't trade him for a third and a fifth, something like that. But when Amari Cooper goes for a one that at the time looked like it was going to be a top 12 pick, I know it's not now. What's Odell Beckham Jr. worth? I think you have.
When the Cowboys got Amari Cooper, they were like, I don't even think they were in the middle of the pack in the NFC. They were closer to the top, and I believe they led the division. Or they were neck and neck with the Redskins, one or the other, man. Like, they were at the... You knew the Cowboys pick wasn't going to be a top 10 pick. I mean, the Cowboys pick. You knew the Cowboys pick would not be a top 10 pick. I still think the Cowboys... I think the Cowboys give up a lot for Amari Cooper. I don't know. I believe they traded a first and a third rounder. That's too much, man. But that makes more sense than trading a number 2 overall pick for a wide receiver that you don't even know is going to work with your team. Because Kyle Shanahan, even though he's an offensive guy, I mean, he still has a system that he probably runs. And if Odell doesn't fit your system, then you would have to completely change the whole thing. I don't know, man. He would have to find a way to make it work, especially when you're investing so much into it, man. That's a big commitment right there. I mean, you could at least say like the second pick of the second round, second pick of the third round, and then like a first rounder at some point in the future. That would make more sense. But this is the number 2 overall pick, man.
To listen because of where the Giants are as a franchise and the needs, not just at quarterback, but at offensive line and all over that defense.
I agree that you have to listen, but I'm right there with you.
And people keep making a big deal about the Giants' offensive line. The Giants' offensive line, if you look at it on paper, it looks fine. Now, there may be 2 issues with this offensive line. One could be the offensive line coach is not good at his job. That could be it. That could be a big problem. It could be no chemistry. Because an offensive line they have to play together. They're one unit. Even though they're 5 players, they act as one unit. You need them to play well together. Or another reason could be Eli, man. Eli could be the reason why this offensive line looks so damn bad. I don't know. There's something going on there. They have way too many additions on this offensive line for them to be playing as bad as they are.
In terms of not being in a hurry to let him go and the compensation having to be a whole. I mean, if you're talking about moving up from 6 to 2 and putting yourself in better position to get the successor for Eli Manning,
all right, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. You trade like the 6th pick in the draft and Odell for a second rounder and some compensations like a later draft pick or some future draft picks or whatever. That makes more sense. But to give up the second rounder for just one player, man, that's a big commitment, man. That's a big commitment.
Sense, but here's where it doesn't make sense for me. You drafted Saquon Barkley with the 2nd overall pick last year. The only reason that you didn't take a quarterback and that you went with a running back is because you thought you already had a quarterback. So Odell signed that contract thinking that...
In what fucking universe?
Eli Manning would be better in 2018 and 2019 because you have the balance of a running game. And that's where we kind of disagree because I don't think that Odell went into this situation when he signed a deal thinking that he'd have a new quarterback in 2019. I just don't think anybody imagined it being as bad as it was this year for the Giants. And so moving forward, I can understand you deciding to move on from Odell if that nets you the next franchise quarterback, but you also have a running back in Saquon Barkley that you can't take full advantage of if you don't have Odell out there to dictate fronts and coverages. So I think it's a balancing act if you're Dave Gettleman. Now, the benefit that the Giants have is that it is a very tradable contract. You're talking about a $16 million cap hit if you trade him versus a $21 million cap hit if he's on your team. So you actually do save some money. And it's a contract that would be team friendly for the next club in terms of yearly cash that they'd have to pay him. But if I'm the Giants, I don't know that that I'd be in a hurry to do this deal.
I want to clarify one thing I said, because right as I said it, I realized...
Nigga, don't backtrack. Don't backtrack on what you said. You said what you said because you believed it. Now, if you said what you said and you didn't believe it and you were just saying it just to say it, that's a bigger problem. Don't backtrack, man.
That I don't necessarily agree with what I was saying. When I said Odell signed the deal thinking about who the quarterback's going to be, I think Odell signed the deal because who's not going to sign the deal? Like,
exactly. There you go.
He just coming off an injury. He wasn't going to hit. If he turns the deal down, guess what the Giants do? They franchise, and they could. You don't turn down long-term deals in the NFL.
For that kind of money, at 23 years old, that could set you up for a very long time if you manage it right. Hell, who wouldn't do that?
Well, I think he maybe was hoping that they would get a new quarterback, but I think he was signing the deal because the Giants were the only team.
And that's all it was, man. I'm pretty sure in the back of his mind, he was hoping, all right, I'm going to sign this deal now. I'm going to get paid. I'm going to play this year, maybe next year. Hopefully not, but maybe next year out. See if they put in motion a move that could get Eli out and put a new quarterback in. I'm pretty sure he signed a deal with the hope that they would do that. If Eli played this bad at the age of like 27 or 26 or 27, and they still had Eli for like 3 or 4 more years, I don't think Odell would have signed the deal, man. I honestly don't. But Eli's on the back end of his career. He's been on the back end of his career for the last 4 years. They just haven't let him go. And when you love the game probably as much as Eli loves the game, man, they're paying you a lot of money to play, no matter how bad you play, and you still get to play. Why wouldn't you? I don't blame Eli. I blame the Giants, man.
That can offer him a deal. It's not like he was a true free agent, had an opportunity to pick amongst teams. But Odell lasted 3 games last year before his frustration boiled over and did that interview that everyone flipped out about. I don't think Odell is going to be the best soldier if Eli continues to deteriorate and if the team's not good. And so I do think...
And why should he? He's clearly the best player on that team. He clearly, when on the field, performs at his most efficient than any other player on that team. Why wouldn't he feel like, all right, maybe we're not getting the best effort out of everybody? And that's why he probably came out and questioned people's heart. Because a lot of these players, man, especially when you're not winning, it's about the money. They don't give a fuck about playing well. As long as they do good enough, the team keeps them and they're able to make money. That's all they're worried about. And I'm not saying that this team is heartless and honestly, it could just be the coaches. I mean, you keep moving one coach out, moving another coach in, thinking shit would change. And this is the problem with the NFL. They get caught up in this whole not for long thing where a coach may not perform as expected the first year, even though you signed him for a 3-year deal, and then you fire him after the first year. And I'm going to tell you one thing, man. Hugh Jackson won 0 games last year. If Hugh Jackson wasn't in the best era to be a bad black coach, he would have got fired probably midway, man. Midway through the last season, probably through like the first 10 games. If they would have went 0-10 and there was no Black Lives Matter and all this other bullshit out there to keep this dude in his job, he would have got fired, man. And I'm not saying that he should have got fired, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't have got fired. But he would have got fired. But they kept him on, man, because they wanted to give him a chance. And then when he didn't perform well this year, they gave them every excuse to get rid of him. Then these teams, they get caught up in this whole not for long thing where if a coach doesn't work out, we're just going to move on to the next coach. And this guy's like Jim Harbaugh and Chip Kelly, where they'll come in the first year and you'll see instant success, which is bad, man. Because every team is looking at that like, oh, all we need is a Jim Harbaugh or a Chip Kelly or, a Bill Belichick to come in and turn our teams into winners within the first 2 years. And that's bad for the rest of the coaches, man, because now your job performance isn't based on how well you do yourself. It's based on how these other coaches on their first year. You know, I mean, and sometimes you don't inherit a team with the type of talent that San Fran had. San Fran had really good talent on that team. It was just unrealized potential. That was it. They just didn't play well because of the coaches that was before them. Like Alex Smith was a laughingstock his first 5, maybe 6 years in the league. He was a laughingstock. Then when Jim Harbaugh got there, man, it's like Alex Smith had a fucking awakening. He looked different. Patrick Willis was a beast in the league, man. He became an icon in San Fran. I mean, sometimes you'll find that coach, man, that can turn your 5-win team into a 12-win team easy, man, with enough work and the right system. Because the one thing that the Patriots do, and Belichick said this, the one thing that the Patriots do that works almost every single time, and I don't understand why teams don't do it, is when you draft a player or sign a player, instead of looking at what they can't do, start looking at what they can do and then using that. Putting them in certain situations where their strengths will be exploited instead of their weaknesses. You know, and sometimes you find a coach that can do that. So...
on the table to happen that he's going to Eli wasn't having a bad season because of anything other than Eli for the most part.
Right. No, I just don't think Eli's going to get better, and I think it can be a very... I think wide receivers can feel almost defenseless if they feel like I'm open. I'm open. I'm doing my job, and you're not looking to me. You're not delivering me the football. And for all the things Odell brings, what we know is he's not the best at keeping his emotions in check. He's not the best at hiding how he's feeling. And so I don't think you would expect in 2019 that to all of a sudden get better unless the team gets better. It's one of the reasons.
And why should he? And this is the problem. And this is these fucking people that come on TV and say Odell is too emotional. He don't have a patient bone in his body. This dude's been in the league for not 5 years. He's been in the league for like 4 years. I believe he was drafted in 2014. So like 3 years. He's been in the league for 3 years. Eli in the last 3 years, I believe he led the league or was top 5 in the league in interceptions 2 of those years. 2 of those years, I believe. I know in the past 5 years, Eli led the league in interception twice. And I believe he was like top 5 like 3 times. So I'm like, well, how patient can you be? If your job is dependent on somebody else getting their job done and they don't do their job and it affects your job performance, you would be mad, man, because when your job performance get affected, then your money gets affected. Eli out there throwing all them shitty ass passes or whatever, not being able to get the ball deep, man, that affects the way Odell looks. Odell is a polished receiver. Phenomenal route runner, has amazing hands. The only negative this dude has attached to his game is his personality. You know, and I don't even really think his personality is that big an issue. I will be pissed too, man. And it's what, look, Odell being Odell is what makes people want to go see him play. Because this is entertainment. It's a show. It's like going to the fucking circus and complaining that the bears aren't being berry enough or the lions aren't being lions enough. Like the NFL is pretty much like the circus. You just go there to get entertained and that's it. It's not for you to go there and criticize how somebody do their job when they're making 20 times what you could ever hope to make. Playing a fucking game that you probably play for free on Thanksgiving. So, yeah.
Reasons I would listen. I'm not calling teams. I'm not initiating the phone calls. Mm-hmm. But if a team calls me, I'm going to listen. Every player on the Giants is on the block except for Saquon, really. And it's only because with Saquon you can't get equitable value because you just spent.
And Sterling Shepard. Because in order for this thing that they're doing with Odell to work, you're going to need a wide receiver to move on from. That's why Antonio Brown is being shipped out. Because Juju is there. Even though I don't think Juju can hold a candle up to Antonio Brown's talent. I mean, he may be a good receiver, man, but he's supposed to be the successor of the best wide receiver in the NFL. I'm not sure about that. But you need a successor. And they're going to need Sterling Shepard.
The second overall pick on him, and he's been fantastic.
Fantastic.
But everyone should be available for the Giants because they're not close. Right. That's the thing, is that's what we learned. Yeah. When they drafted Saquon, they said, we're close. You're not. Don't double down on the mistake.
They never said that shit. They never said that. Come on. This team has so many holes. What the fuck is a running back going to do to fill them? And you just said they need help at every level of their defense. How the fuck is Saquon going to help that?
Just because you made that one.
All right, let's move on to the New England Patriots. Not their best season, not their best Gronk, not their best Brady. Still the 2 seed in the AFC. Is Brady showing signs of a decline at age 41? Perhaps. But right now, Brady's in the driver's seat, and so Brady's no longer in the driver's seat. And despite less than great statistics, Pro Football Focus ranked him the 5th best quarterback in the NFL this season. All right.
I believe Brady is getting weaker. And I believe, I'm not saying he's getting weaker, and he's also making a lot more poor choices. And you don't really see Brady making too many poor choices during the NFL season. But there were like 4 times during the playoffs where he threw some pretty questionable passes. And not the type of pass he threw, but the decision he made to go to a certain receiver that was blanketed. Like, in the Super Bowl when he threw it to Edelman, who had Nickel Roby-Coleman all over him, and Nickel Roby-Coleman tips the ball in the air, and Corey Littleton picks the ball off, that was a bad throw. If you look at the coverage, he was fucking covered completely. There was really no way for you to get him that ball unless fucking Edelman grew wings and you threw that shit 10 yards in the air. There was no way for him to get that ball. But of course he's getting weaker. Of course he's starting to decline. I don't know if he'll make it to 45. He's only 41 right now, man. That's a long ass time away. When the season starts, he'll be 42. That means he's going to try to play for 3 more years. It's a long time, man. And I don't care how much avocado ice cream and all the yoga and shit that you want to do. I don't know how much that's going to work, how long that's going to work. But hey, man, 3 years is a long time, especially in the NFL.
85th? Has everyone just given up on Brady too soon at this point?
Yeah, I think people are out of their minds if you think Tom Brady can't play at a high level. And so though it may be eye-popping to see him at 5th when you talk about some of the other statistics that quarterbacks have put up, Pat Mahomes and Drew Brees this season, I mean, you can't discount Tom Brady's body of work in 2018. You have to factor in. I
believe the 5 quarterbacks they have over him obviously are, well, there's 2 obvious ones. It's Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees. Now, a couple of the other ones that I would say are Phillip Rivers and it can't be Jared Goff. There's no way it's fucking Jared Goff. I gotta look that up.
The supporting cast and all the guys that he's had in and out of the...
Maybe Jared Goff and between Jared Goff and Andrew Luck. I doubt that one of those guys is above him. I doubt that shit. It better be Joe fucking Montana.
Lineup: Julian Edelman with the suspension at the beginning of the season. Gronk being a shell of himself. Danny Amendola losing him in free agency to Miami. And then, of course, trying to get Josh Gordon integrated onto that team. And then keep in mind the fact that they lost their starting left tackle for the season in Isaiah Wynn before the season even started.
Right.
So, I mean, Sony Michel has been nicked up. I mean, Tom Brady.
I don't know if that's a strong argument with the whole Isaiah Wynn thing, man, because they traded for Trent Brown. And to be honest, they could have had plans to go with Trent Brown to start off anyway and just work Isaiah Wynn into the lineup, but Isaiah Wynn got hurt. So I believe they were going to go with Trent Brown regardless. But what was I going to say before? Never mind. Just move on.
Has been trying to give this team some stability because remember, he's not only the team's offense, but he's...
Oh, that was it. Rob Gronkowski, man. Rob Gronkowski, I thought was old as shit just by the way he was playing. He stepped his game up in the playoffs, made two of the most incredible catches I've seen late in the games against the Chiefs and against the Rams. I mean, in the Chiefs game, Eric Berry was literally in his face. Like, he was all up in his face. And this dude managed to get his arms around Eric Berry, grab the ball without Eric Berry being able to make a play immediately. And by the time Eric Berry realized he had the ball, Gronk was already falling to the ground. That was an incredible catch. And then that catch in the Super Bowl, there's no words for that one. But Rob Gronkowski at this point in his career have been dramatically relegated. Now he's more like Manu Ginobili, like late in his career. Manu comes off the bench. He'll hit a couple of really good shots. But that's pretty much the most that you're going to get out of him. He can do some other stuff too. I mean, Ginobili was multifaceted. And Gronk is too. But if you look at Gronk's game and, you know, his role, how far his role has diminished, but he's still an impact player, he reminds me of Manu Ginobili.
Also, the team's defense by being able to dictate the complexion of games, by being able to score a lot of points. And so, when you factor in his stat line, 29 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, although it's not the best, it's still nearly a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Tom Brady gives you a chance to win a lot of football games. You know, in baseball, they have the WAR stat, wins above replacement. I don't know what that would be for Tom Brady, but I think it'd be significantly higher for him as opposed to any of the other quarterbacks in the league right now.
So that last point is the one I just vehemently disagree with. That Brady is what the job Brady did with the Pats, that if you put Andrew Luck on this team or Phillip Rivers on this team, that they couldn't duplicate it or outdo it, much less Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes, both of whom had historic seasons. Brady's been good. There's no doubt about it. Brady has been good. But that's where it ends. Top 5 in the league, no chance. Mahomes, Brees, Luck, Rivers, Deshaun Watson. There's 5 that are no-brainers. Aaron Rodgers, very close. Russell Wilson, I would argue, has been better. Matt Ryan, even though the team stunk's been better. We can't pick a category where Brady's top 10 much.
All right. I'm going to give my sentiments right here, and then that's it. I'm going to end the video. When you look at Brady's numbers, and this is the problem with people nowadays, man, they depend way too much on numbers. It's not enough for you to just be able to tell. It's not enough for you to just be able to look at somebody's game and know, is this guy good? What is he good at? Like, they talk about Allen Iverson and Steph Curry early on, where they would rack up a whole bunch of steals. And then you'll have some people be like, well, that doesn't mean they're good defenders. That just means they're good at poking the ball out. That doesn't make them good defenders. Because they may get 5 steals in a game, but every other possession, they could possibly be getting blown by, giving up layups all game. Like, so numbers can be deceiving, man. And if you depend too much on them, it could kind of muddy your argument up. Of course, Brady has had a very, very down regular season. Sure. I've made the argument that I believe the Patriots play down in a regular season. Like, they don't play anymore. I'm not saying like they've never did this, but as of right now, the only thing that they have over all these other teams, well, there's 2 things. 1 is experience, and 2 is the element of surprise. Nobody expects Brady to get out on that field and really play. Like, you'll hear these guys after the game be like, man, that's Tom Brady. Sometimes when the dude get in the zone, man, you can't really do anything about it. They'll say that after the game. But before the game, they're looking at Brady like, this old-ass motherfucker think that he gonna come in here and do that shit to me? No. I'm pretty sure all of them think that way. And then what happens? They get whooped. And then after the game, it's like, well, it's Tom Brady. It's the reason why he's the GOAT. So, with that being said, now you have the Patriots' talent versus the other team's talent. People talk about his interceptions and his touchdowns. I believe he didn't have Edelman for the first 4 games. I believe for like a while he only had 3 active receivers on his team. I believe it was Philip Dorsett, Cordero Patterson, and I believe Chris Hogan was hurt. So it was Cordero Patterson, Philip Dorsett, It was the other guy. It was another dude. They signed like 10 receivers out of free agency. I mean, I believe it was some big ass number like that. And Eric Decker was one of them. But Eric Decker either couldn't learn the system quick enough, or he just didn't want to go through the grind of going through all the OTAs and preseason and regular season and playoff and all that shit. Yeah, I guess he didn't want to go through the rigors, one or the other, and he decided to leave and retire, I guess. But people when they talk about Brady, man, it's about his numbers. They always try to compare numbers. Oh, Carson Wentz is having a better year because he threw 30 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions through 12 games. And look at Brady. Brady only threw 21 touchdowns and like 7 interceptions. But if you look at the talent that Philly has on their team versus the talent that Brady's working with, is an extreme difference. Numbers are way too suggestive. It's not even a word I want to use. Numbers only matter because people believe the numbers matter. Like they tell everything, you know. They don't tell everything, and this is the problem, and this is why people are dumbfounded and are baffled by why New England can still be successful, even though they don't put up the greatest numbers, they don't play the greatest defense. You know, a lot of times they're in either the 10 to 15 range when it comes to defense or offense. You know, they're not. I don't know. They're not efficient like some of these other teams are in the regular season. But that's because the numbers don't matter, man. Because when you line up on the other side of a great team, they can impose their will on you. And then the numbers don't matter. Look at the Rams. Far better team. Far better when we talk about talent. But New England was able to impose their will on them, and they didn't have a counter for it. So that's it. This was about Odell and Tom Brady, obviously. But hopefully over the next week, man, there'll be a lot more topics to talk about and get pissed off at, because these motherfucking analysts always saying some bullshit. Because I believe their job is about 85% bullshit and 15% facts. So, all right.